Guys, so today we're going to be looking at questions 13 and 14, and this is from the SAT, the QAS test for April 2017, and here we have a paired question, so let's jump in and try to solve this. So 13 says, based on the passage, in which situation would an individual stand the greatest chance of accurately predicting how he or she is perceived? And then we're given the text here. So the way that I would solve this is I would start by looking through these options here, going through them A, B, C, D, and I'm looking for any of these that's going to tell us like how an individual or when an individual stands the greatest chance of accurately predicting how they're going to be perceived. So we'll look for a text for that. If we've gone through the passage and we understand it, or if we watch the passage outline, you should have already kind of have an understanding of in what situation or what context this might work, and we can use that background knowledge. But even without that, I think we can solve this text or this question just by going through the order in which I'm doing. So let's start with 9 to 13, and that is right here. And this basically says the traits varied from one experiment to another and included qualities like intelligence, sense of humor, defensiveness, leadership ability, etc. So all this is doing in these lines is giving us the traits that were measured in the experiments, but they don't really give us any indication of what things people would be good at or in what situations people are good at predicting how others perceive them. So it's not telling us like when people are good at that. All it's doing is giving us the traits, so I think we can get rid of A. Then we have 28 through 33, which is here, and that says basically, first, the good news. These experiments suggested that people are pretty good at guessing how a group of others would evaluate them on average, how a group of people would view us, which is pretty good. I think that this could tell us what situation that we're able to predict how others perceive us. I think this is a good text here, so we should keep that one. Then we have 41 through 44. Let's check that out. That is right here. This says, now the bad news. These experiments also assessed how well people could predict the impression of any single individual within a given group. Two things about this. First, we're given the bad news, so I think it's unlikely in this paragraph for us to find out when people are good at predicting how others perceive them, or in what situation or what context, because this is the bad news here. And the other thing is that it's really not telling us either way. All it's saying is what these experiments assessed. Right, so it's just sort of setting up the experiments. So for that reason, it's not making a claim, and it probably, if it was going to make a claim, would not be the one we're looking for. We can get rid of C. Then we have D, 68 through 70, which says, surely you are better at this. You learn over time to hang around people who smile at you and avoid those who spit at you. And so this comes in the context where basically the author of the passage is like, you know what, maybe we've been too harsh because we've only been looking at these abstract qualities like leadership ability or intelligence or whatever. We're looking at these abstract qualities. Maybe we need to be a little simpler and just ask, do we understand whether individuals like us or not? And that's basically what's being here. And we get a series of rhetorical questions and rhetorical statements, which is like, surely we're able to do this. Surely you're better at this. You must have a much better sense of this and this and that, which, as we find out, the author doesn't really believe, right? He goes on to say, I'm afraid not. So these are really just rhetorical questions that are being given. So for that reason, they're not really have any content of themselves. They're just rhetorical. They're used to set up the author's statement. And the other thing is they tell us nothing about when a person is good at predicting how others perceive them, so we can get rid of D, which means that B does have to be our correct answer, and I think it's a pretty good one. So let's go back one more time to B. And basically, what does it say? In what situation are people good at understanding how others perceive them? They suggested that people are pretty good at guessing how a group of others would evaluate them on average, right? So all we need to do is pick the situation where we're evaluating how a group of others would evaluate us on average. So let's find that. So first says an intern predicts the impression that her direct supervisor holds of her. Problem with this is that we're predicting the impression of a direct supervisor, an individual, not a group. So we can get rid of A. B says a manager predicts the collective opinion of employees about her ability. So here we have collective opinion of the employees. So this is the opinion of the group, which does match what we looked at, so we should definitely keep this one. Then we have C, which says an instructor predicts the enthusiasm of his class, okay, after talking with two students. So I think this has a number of things wrong with it, but really it's mostly because we're just dealing with two students, right? He's assessing how the class feels about him on average, just based on the opinion of two students. And this is a smaller data set, these two students, than the collective opinion. This is less of a group. Get rid of C. D says a biographer predicts the esteem in which he is held by the living subject of his book. There's probably a few things wrong with this, but the main thing is that we're just dealing with an individual. He's predicting how the living subject, an individual, feels about him, which is not what the text talks about. We're looking for a group, so we can get rid of D. And that leaves us with only answer choice B as talking about a group. So B is our correct answer for 13, and B is our correct answer for 14.